Hello everyone, I'm Eddie Riccardi with Riccardi Real Estate. And today I have a special guest here with us. This guest is Andrea de Deus Rijo. Thanks for being here with us, Andrea. Andrea is an attorney here in Portugal. She specializes in tax law, and we'll be talking a bit today about the NHR program. So Andrea, why don't we start by introducing yourself?
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for having me today. As you told, I am an attorney here in Portugal. I'm a tax lawyer. I work at Antes de Conhecer, which is a law firm. We are 1,000 lawyers around the world. We have 3 offices here in Portugal, Lisbon, Porto, and Braga, and then we have a presence in Spain and in Latin America. Okay, we do a bit of everything these days. With regards to tax, to immigration, to real estate, to litigation, M&A. So a standard law firm, a very well-known one, which I am very proudly part of the team, and I work at the tax department. So that's why I am here today to speak a bit of the NHR. I hope this is informative. So let's start it.
Thanks again for being here with us. And so the NHR program is something that any foreign resident living in Portugal today is quite familiar with, and very important to talk about and to have a bit of an understanding of what these benefits are. There is such a variety of topics within this one, and we're going to try to make it general just to give you a basic information of the program. But each case is a different case. So very important to mention that, we have Andrea here as an attorney. The information that is being provided is generic, and for any more detail and further explaining to each client's specific needs, where the income is coming from, what type of income it is, and so forth, it is studied case by case. And you have to be, getting in touch directly with the firm to learn how you could benefit from the program on your own for your own situation.
Sure, absolutely.
So the NHR, the Non-Habitual Resident Scheme, right?
Yes.
Or regime. Could you tell us a bit more, like a general idea? What is the NHR?
Yes, of course. So the NHR, like you said, stands for Non-Habitual Residency Regime, which is a special taxation regime that applies at a personal level, okay? The NHR allows for several tax benefits during 10 years for the new residents of Portugal. So this is taxation only. Many times clients, they came to us and they speak about the golden visa and the NHR, but this is nothing related, okay? The two can be combined, of course, but the NHR only regards to taxation. So it's a tax regime that provides for a special and a beneficial tax treatment.
Okay? Yes, no, it's important that you bring this up. Even myself, sometimes I have a hard time when you're talking to clients, you're presenting the golden visa and you're presenting the NHR, and all of a sudden you see the questions, they get mixed up. So thanks for bringing that up. The NHR basically completely separate from the golden visa. You do not need to be a golden visa applicant to qualify for NHR. We're going to talk about the requirements of qualifying for NHR, but again, two different programs. You can be part of both, or you can just be part of each singular one based on your situation. So now that we have talked a bit about what the NHR is, Andrea, could you please tell me what are some of the key benefits from the NHR program?
Of course. Eddie, I would say that the benefits, they are on foreign sourced income. So an NHR individual, which is a tax resident on Portugal, benefiting from this special status many times is exempted from taxation in what regards foreign sourced income. So if we are speaking about receiving a salary from outside of Portugal, dividends, interests, normally the taxation in Portugal is zero, which is very, very beneficial from an international perspective. And I would say this puts Portugal in a very, very good position from a taxation perspective, because many times all of your foreign sourced income is exempted here. Okay, at employment and self-employment income, we have some considerations. So many times we can also benefit from the zero. Other times a reduced taxation of 20 can apply. But I would say the key points are these: that foreign sourced income can be exempted of taxes here. Then also we have a regime that is solid so far, with more than 10 years of application, and you just need to be a new resident of Portugal to benefit from this. You can be from any nationality. You don't need to apply for a permit to be an NHR if you are a European citizen. So the regime is very, very attractive and works super well these days for, I would say, the majority of the nationalities. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. It is a very popular program, and I think it attracts a lot of people to come to Portugal. In addition to the fantastic lifestyle that this country offers, having fiscal benefits is also very attractive. Now let's talk about wealth tax, as well as taxes on gifts and inheritance. I know there are some benefits on those three topics that are frequently I get questions about it. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
In Portugal, we tax income, not capital. Okay, so what we have to declare as Portuguese tax residents is income. Okay, in addition, we can say that we don't have inheritance tax or wealthy tax. Sometimes what we can have is a stamp duty taxation, normally around 10% plus 0.8 when we speak about real estate transactions. That can be exempted if we are speaking in a blood line, like spouses or descendants can be exempted. Okay, so forget about inheritance taxes and wealthy taxes. We can say that we don't have that in Portugal. So the clients, they are very happy to hear this all time. Of course, we have some points we can further explore, but from a general view, this is accurate, I would say. Okay.
You did mention already a few things to qualify, right? But basically, anybody from any nationality can qualify. But I think it's important to bring up. My next question to you would be: what are the requirements to qualify for NHR? And one that I find that is very important to mention, I'll let you explain, is that actually the residency in the country.
Two requirements: become Portuguese tax resident and not have been tax resident in Portugal in the previous 5 years. Okay, so the individual needed to have tax residency elsewhere in the previous 5 years. Okay, regardless of the nationality, can become NHR, and for that needs to be a Portuguese tax resident. Okay, so the NHR is a tax resident. Many times people believe that an NHR is a different concept, but no, it's a tax resident but benefiting from a special status. Okay.
All right, thanks for that. And I think one that is important to bring up is Portuguese citizens living abroad. Right, I think a lot of times they do think because they're Portuguese, oh no, this is just for foreign nationals. Do Portuguese citizens that have been living abroad for 5+ years as tax residents elsewhere qualify for the NHR if they do decide to move back to Portugal?
100. That's the magic. They can totally benefit from the NHR provided that the criteria are met. So we have many people that lived for a season abroad and now they are relocating because we have so many incentives. The program per se, I would say that it was created also to attract talent to Portugal, for us to have good professionals, high qualified professionals. So everyone can benefit, including Portuguese people.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Andrea, could you tell us a bit more about, the application process, and also something that is really important to bring up is the deadline, right? As to when you're supposed to apply for the NHR status.
Okay. As I call it for the clients, the procedures. So normally everything we do to facilitate the client's life, okay? So the procedures, they are straightforward nowadays. The regime year by year have been simplified, I would say. Nowadays, many things can happen online. COVID helped, of course. So now we are prepared to do anything on behalf of the client to help with power of attorney. And the route is simple, okay? Firstly, when you are relocating, you have to apply for a tax ID number, the NIF. Everyone relocating to Portugal will heard this word, NIF, 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 NIF. Everywhere you go, you have to have the NIF. So you apply for the NIF. After you have the NIF, normally the clients, they look for the residency here in Portugal, because as I told, you are a resident of Portugal, so you have to have a house. That's your part where you would helping them. So they can rent or they can buy a property. The important thing from my side is that we have an address to say to the tax authorities, look, I'm relocating, I want to become Portuguese tax resident. Okay? And after that, I have 2 steps concluded, 3 in this case. So having the NIF, having the house, declaring my intention of having an address permanently here. And the last step to accomplish all of this, it would be applying for the special regime of the NHR. Okay? Nowadays it's online, 2 days to be approved. Okay? Normally it's always approved provided that you fulfill the criteria. So without further issues, I would say. And the deadline, that's very important that you mentioned, 31st March of the following year, you become resident. Okay, so an example, if I become resident today, let's say November, I have until next year, March 21st, to apply. Okay, if we escape this date, forget, it would be difficult. Okay, so we have to make sure we got the right time.
This is all very helpful information, Andrea. But you touched on this before, but I'd like you to go in a bit more details of what some of the core benefits are for different types of incomes, as an example, and that I'm talking about foreign source incomes, like employment, pension, and others that you see that are more frequently benefited from the NHR program.
Okay, of course. This is a very interesting question because normally this is what the clients wants to know. So foreign sourced income many times benefits from zero tax in Portugal. Okay, so I like to explain in a very general and straightforward way that we can divide this into active income and passive income. On active income, we have employment and self-employment income, and passive income, dividends, interest, royalties, investment income, okay? In which we can have real estate income, pensions, for example. Okay, so dividends, interest, royalties, almost always zero tax, depending on the tax treaty and the country of source. And then for pensions, we have 10% flat rate here in Portugal. Okay, this changed. In the past, we had zero tax, which is great, but then raised some issues with other countries, what we can understand. And then we amended the regime, and we have now 10% flat here. Okay. But mainly foreign sourced income is zero tax in Portugal, okay? We have the exception of the capital gains. So on capital gains, I cannot say that it's always exempted because it's normally taxed here in Portugal, capital gains, arising even from outside Portugal, okay?
Yeah, capital gains is an interesting topic, but with that in mind, what do you have to say about are there still any possible benefits with capital gains? How is that seen for somebody that does have the NHR status?
Okay, so we can have exceptions for capital gains. For example, with the tax treaty with Brazil, the tax treaty, the agreement that have the provisions to avoid double taxation, just for the clients understand about what we are speaking. We can, for example, here in Portugal, for an NHR individual, have zero tax on capital gains. Okay, so I would say on capital gains we have to see case by case, and really depends on a further analysis. But if we are speaking about immovable capital gains from outside of Portugal, it's zero. Okay, for example, you sell your property outside of Portugal, you can have zero tax here. If we are speaking about you selling your shares, the shares that you hold in a foreign company, and then you realize a gain, I would say that almost every time we would have a 28 percentage of taxation here in Portugal.
Yeah, I guess this would really be case by case, right? I think the important thing to take, yes, there's the average is the 28% on capital gains, but there are ways around, and there are certain capital gains that...
Yes, we have to assess. That depends. The answer, I cannot give you like a straightforward answer because this is a bit complex, but I would say capital gains payable here in Portugal.
Of course, yes. Now the next hot topic in Portugal, which is cryptocurrencies.
Crypto, okay.
Yeah, I will just, again, right, it's keeping in mind that with crypto is such a new thing and things are rapidly changing, but there's still a lot of benefits when it comes to cryptos in Portugal. Do you want to talk about where we are now with this topic? And I mean, this is happening in the fall of 2022, where we'll keep you updated as it goes along with changes on cryptocurrency taxation in Portugal.
Okay, so this is a topic I like, and I would say Portugal is a friendly country in what regards crypto investments. Even with this new proposal for the 2023 state budget, I would say that in principle we would have in force a regime that can have some ups and downs. Okay, we at least will know for certain that now we'll have a regime which can also be good. Okay, because regulation doesn't mean that it's not a good new. We will now understand what is about to be on the table. The idea, at least so far, is that we are creating a taxation regime for cryptocurrency assets. So far we had this void in the Portuguese legislation in which we didn't have a regime, so it was like not an exemption like these ones we are speaking about, the NHR, but it was like an exclusion because our tax law didn't have the provisions to regulate how to tax income deriving from the crypto assets. Now, what they intend to have is, in general terms, taxation at a personal level, because at the corporate level it's clear for us that this is taxable, but from a personal level we would have taxation at what we call category B, which is professional income and capital gains income taxation. Okay, so in principle everything that regards with the sale of crypto assets, including mining and staking, would be taxable at the rules applicable to the B category, okay, in which we will apply a coefficient in principle of 0.15%, which is not so bad. Okay, by the end of the day, in some cases we can have a taxation of 7.2%. Eddie, let's say it's okay, 7.2%. Not bad. But on these points we have many things to be clarified. We have to understand the rules applicable. I believe the law has some gaps so far. Let's see with the state budget if this will be amended, which I hope so. And all of us, including my law firm, we are trying to do our best to cooperate in this matter. And then, with regards to capital gains, what happens? We can have 28 or zero tax. 28% flat tax when we are speaking about capital gains generating from investments you didn't hold for more than 1 year, 365 days. If you hold the investment for a longer period, this is more than 1 year, you can have an exemption, so it's zero. So roughly this is what we have. Then we have new regulations about stamp duty. Let's not go by there because this is not the focus of our discussion today. But in some, I would say, let's hope the next days in the upcoming weeks would be decisive on this point. Next year, not next week, we will be learning more about this, and of course we can catch up later. But general rule, I would say, okay, we don't have bad news, we just have new rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still very attractive,
yes.
as you're saying, you know, to the investors in cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
I think still Portugal, like they want those investments. They want these people here, and it's
sure.
I find it very beneficial. That's
yes.
one of the reasons why I wanted to bring crypto to the question. Now, I find it very important to say that, you know, and I only speak for the people that I know and my clients themselves. The majority of them still maintains their jobs in their country of origin or their companies, meaning most of their income still comes from home, wherever home was before coming to Portugal. But there are lots of exceptions as well. People that are starting to work and joining the workforce in Portugal. Let's talk about, we talked about foreign source incomes. Now let's touch a bit on Portuguese sourced incomes.
General rule, what applies is that we have general and progressive taxation up to 48%, like a standard resident as myself, for example, okay? But if we are speaking about the NHR still have benefits in these regards. So, for example, imagine that an NHR resident applies for a job here in Portugal, has a labor agreement, and is getting a salary each month. It can benefit from a reduced taxation of 20, okay? What is important, or what we need to understand, is that to benefit from these 20, we have to fulfill some criteria. So normally, what is mandatory is that the activity is resulting from what we call high value activity, okay? So case by case, we have to see in which category the activity will fit to see if we can apply for the 20% rate of taxation. But of course, in this case, the NHR has some benefits. With regards to the other types of income, it's normally progressive and general taxation. Okay.
And with the 20% flat is regardless of how much you're earning.
Yeah, regardless. That's a very good question. Regardless of how much you earn is 20. And when I'm saying employment income, I'm saying self-employment income. Okay. In what regards Portuguese sourced income, same rule apply. Okay.
How much? Now let's talk about Canadians. You know, it's,
hot topic.
You know, we've been seeing a larger amount than usual of Canadians and U.S. citizens moving to Portugal in recent years.
Sure.
And obviously, there's also to each of those specific countries, there's different benefits, right? And there's different challenges as well to work through. as they're moving here and bringing their foreign source incomes.
Absolutely.
But with Canadians, especially with pensioners or others, what do you find are some of the key benefits, or what are some of the important things for Canadians to know as they are planning their move to Canada, or when they're planning their move to Portugal?
Sure. I was just thinking what I should address on this topic, because it's interest, and because we recently had a case, and now that you are mentioning the Canadians and the pensioners, this is something good to explain. Normally their concerns regards to how they can relieve taxation or avoid taxation because they already paid taxes in Canada with regards to the pension. So as I explained, 10% here, okay? The residency country, Portugal, has powers to tax, but our tax treaty with Canada is very special on these points, and Canada normally can tax also in what regards pension income. What we have to assess is that under the terms of the Portuguese law, we have mechanisms to relieve or to avoid taxation, okay? So somehow the clients, they can be ensured that we can relieve or avoid taxation and consider the taxes they already paid, okay? But great, 10 here. Anyway, I'm sure we can tell them that they are in a safe place, paying not much taxes, and even if they are pensioners, we can work on that, and we can have good advice to give them.
And something that is also new, right? Now let's move down the border from Canada to the United States. As any American citizen know, the U.S. is quite strong on collecting their taxes.
Yeah.
However, in recent years, I can't recall what year it was, there has been a treaty signed between USA and Portugal.
Yes, we have
when it
one.
comes to taxes.
Yeah.
And I'd just like you to, with so many American clients, what are some of the hot, the main benefits from Americans that are changing their tax residency to Portugal?
Americans, they are coming a lot. They are loving the country, I would say. Very good to know that. With regards to taxation, we might have additional considerations with regards to American clients based on the tax treaty Portugal and the US concluded, okay, signed. Based on the tax treaty, in the simple way, being a national of the USA means that you will be a tax resident for taxation purposes. So in many cases, you as American can be liable to taxation in the US. What can I say is good? That Americans surely can apply to the NHR and can benefit from the NHR regime and from its taxation. What we have to assess is that from both perspectives, from both jurisdictions, we have a tax efficient approach to see how we can optimize that. But for example, dividends would be exempted, same for interests, okay? So they can benefit from the regime. In this case, some tax assessment would be required, but this is the majority of the time. We can explore this in detail depending on the client's tax positions and the client's intentions, because that's important to understand. But sure, Americans are coming. We are happy to have them. We are working with many Americans, and the NHR absolutely work for them. It's just a question of doing some previously assessments and to work with the information we have to optimize the situation, I would say. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Andrea. Are there any topics that you would like to talk about? Is there something did I miss something on the...
I believe we covered the majority of all topics, why this is so beneficial, why the NHR is one of the hot tax regimes at an international level that is attracting so many people to Portugal. So I believe we covered all that. Of course, everything we are discussing, is in a general context. We can, or we should, case by case, do an analysis. But the regime works well, Eddie. We receive clients from everywhere, every day. This is something we do on a daily basis. Okay, taxes are not easy to deal with. No one likes taxes and no one likes to pay taxes. But in general terms, with the NHR regime, I believe if you are looking for a nice and a safe place to relocate, you can combine a lot of good things, having Portugal, its magic environment, and you can have this special regime. So it's great. I believe it's something very good. And then you have the golden visa if you are from a third country. It's a lot of things to do, a lot of work to do. Normally, as we tell the clients, is good to do a pre-assessment.
Of course.
Taking into consideration that if I want to move and if I want things go smoothly, let's do a pre-check. What I have to do, to whom should I speak with. There's things that I'm sure it's kind of a bit scary when you are relocating, but at the end of the day, you know you will accomplish your goal of relocating with your family, alone, depends, and you can have many benefits here in Portugal. So we are happy to speak with your clients, happy to help anyone looking for these and to have any discussion. Okay, thank you so much for the invite.
No, I'm the one that thank you, Andrea. And I thank you all for watching. I hope that was enough information for you to get even more excited about the idea of moving to this beautiful country. On top of being a great place to live, sunny, the fantastic food, the amazing people, good education, good health system, having tax incentives on top of it just makes it everything that much more appealing. And we have to remember that Lisbon today being such an international city, and Portugal as a whole being such a welcoming country, Lisbon to this day is still one of the most affordable European capitals to live in, and it does have everything that one would wish to have when living in an international city. I thank you all very much for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to contact me. I will have a link for you, Andrea, if anybody needs to contact you directly for any tax questions they might have with the move here. And thank you, and have a lovely day.